You're tuned into Balanced Life. Your Balanced Life podcast with Dr. Chris Byles, a space for people who want more energy, better recovery, calmer days, and long-term health without the hype or confusion.
Here, we talk about nutrition, fitness, stress, habits, hormones, and everyday wellness in a way that feels practical, supportive, and real-life focused. Because supplements aren't the goal, your lifestyle, your strength, and your well-being are. This is about intentional health and a life lived in balance. Welcome to a balanced life. Welcome to a balanced life.
What's going on? Welcome back to a Balanced Life podcast. This is your host, Dr. Chris Byles, and I hope that you're doing well. Hope that you've had an amazing week since the last time we talked. And we're just inviting you back to the place where we break down health, fitness, and performance using real science, not trends, right? We're not all about trends here. We're all about trying to get back up some science behind it because we need to know why things are the way they are. That's the way I look at things, right? I've been doing this for a long time. So I used to coach track and field for over 10 years. Then I've transitioned to the health and wellness side of things. And I've seen a lot, picked up a lot of information along the way, and just looking to share some information with you guys. All right. And so as with that being said, before we begin, this information is for entertainment purposes only. Educational purposes only. By no means is this going to constitute any type of medical advice. If anybody that's listening to my voice needs some type of medical attention, please go seek your doctors immediately. Okay. With that being said, we're going to get right into it. Again, I'm Dr. Chris Byles, soon to be Dr. Chris Byles, finishing up my kinesiology doctorate degree, and I'm actually getting excited about getting done with this thing. It's it's been a labor of love, I believe. So I just have to complete my dissertation, and then that's going to be it. So again, not quite yet, but we're going to claim things over here. So anyway, so today's topic, we're going to talk about creatine. We're going to look at it. We're going to look at this because if you may not have really realized this or heard about this, but creatine is one of the most misunderstood supplements in health and performance. It's been around for a long time, but it is so misunderstood on so many different levels as to when you need it, why you need it, if you need it at all, right? So forth and so on. And so what we want to do is we want to break some of that stuff down and give you some information that you can take, you can use about creatine, if creatine is right for you. And if you hear some of this information here, you might really jump on the bandwagon that creatine is important, right? And I'm one of these people. So we're going to talk about that today, okay? So if you ever heard one of these three different things, when somebody say this thing to you, you've heard it being passed around, what have you, maybe you've heard creatine is bad for your kidneys, okay? Or maybe you've heard creatine is only for bodybuilders, right? I've had to educate people a little bit on the subject matter. So if you've heard any of those things that I just mentioned, stick with me. Just stick with me. Listen to everything I have to say, because I'm going to tell you the science says otherwise. So today we're going to go talk about what creatine actually is, how much research exists. We're going to talk about how much research actually exists on this topic, why women, especially later on in life, may benefit even more than men do with creatine, and how to take creatine safely and effectively every single day. Okay? So I hope as we go along this journey that you'll understand why creatine isn't a gym supplement. It's a health and longevity supplement. Okay? So let's talk about quickly what creatine is and why it matters. Okay. So creatine, if you didn't know, creatine is actually a naturally occurring compound, stored mainly in your muscles and brain. Okay. Your body produces it, and you also get small amounts from food like red meat and fish. So if you are eating red meat, there's a benefit. You're getting creatine from your red meat and fish, but you have to eat an awful lot of red meat and fish to actually get a good amount of it that you would really need. But let me pause for that second there. Okay. So when you think about creatine's main job is to regenerate ATP. Now, we're not going to get too deep in what ATP stands for. You can look it up. But ATP is just basically your body's energy currency. Okay, so if you look at it like that, try and make it as simple as possible. ATP is your body's energy currency. Okay, so anytime you lift weights, right? If you're my gym rats, if you lift weights, my older people that's out there that's just thinking about it or has already started your gym routine. If you lift weights, you're gonna be using ATP. Anytime you sprint, my sprinters out there, ATP is used. If you stand up from a chair because it's a quick burst of energy, boom, you stand up quick. That's ATP being used. Or even if you think intensely, okay? These are different activities that can use ATP, right? It's your energy currency. So like when you need to use it, it's there for you to use, okay? So this is why creatine improves so much, right? It improves strength, power, muscle recovery. That's a big one that you want to really put in the back of your mind, that creatine actually supports or improves muscle recovery and training quality. Okay. The main thing that many people, average everyday gym goer, a lot of times people miss is that they think creatine is just for athletes, and it's for everybody. Okay. So every one of us can benefit from supplementing or taking creatine. Okay. One of the things we have to, understand, I'm getting up there, right? So I'll be 50 this year. And as we age, we have to understand that naturally creatine starts diminishing or declining, right? The creatine stores that we have in our muscles starts declining. And that's right. When you need strength, balance, and cognitive function the most is when you get older. Okay. So when things start declining, you need the strength, balance, and cognitive function. Okay. You need it. Be able to walk up and down stairs, to be able to stand up, to be able to do many things that we neglect or we take for granted as children, as we're younger, because it's so easy for us to do, and not realizing that as we get older, unfortunately, if we're not staying active, we can decline. All that stuff can decline on us, and it becomes harder and harder as we get older, after we let that stuff happen, to regain mobility, strength, balance, all that stuff, cognitive function, right? All that good stuff. So I would recommend, before I say what I'm going to say, that doesn't mean that you won't never get it back. So like if you start later on and you start doing these things, getting more physically active, lifting weights, those type of things, moving, you'll gain this stuff back, right? It's like it's gone. But I would recommend try to not lose it as much as you can, because again, as you get older, and many of you guys out there is my age or older or getting close to this age, that it becomes hard as the dickens to get back in shape when you're out of shape. It is extreme. You thought it was hard when you was in your 20s. Man, please. It's worse now. So what I would recommend, if you heard anything right from my voice, I would recommend don't stop at all, ever, right? There's been documentaries that's been out. Netflix has a good one. The Blue Zones, I believe it is. And it goes in there and looks at all the different villages in the United States, or in the country, where there's villages where people live to be over 100 years old. And honestly, the same denominator is the fact of how they eat and the fact they move. They're always walking up into the garden. They're squatting down and pick up their vegetables or their peas or whatever, their tomatoes. They're standing up, they're cooking, they're being physically active. And even though they live they're not just not doing anything. Okay, and so that you can see those things they're not declining in that culture because of the activity level, right? As well as the diet. And we've talked about the diet. The diet is the most important thing. Okay. Well, if you are still getting some, if you're eating correctly, you're still receiving some creatine in your diet, right? Red meat and fish, right? Great creatine in both of those items. But I believe you have to eat, I'm not sure about the math, but you have to eat an awful lot of meat on a regular basis. And like I said before in a protein podcast, is that when you go start tracking that stuff, you'll see how hard in the beginning, if you're not used to it, how hard it is to eat or consume that much protein, the amount of protein your body needs to even put on muscle. Okay. And again, this is the thing from the muscle. So if you're not getting enough protein in your diet, you're probably not going to get enough creatine. That's why creatine is a very important supplement to take in, just to help with just to help your body's function. Right. Again, I would love to say that everything comes from our diet, and it should come from our diet. And I really believe that it should come from our diet. Right. But it's not impossible. But in this day and age, the way our food is processed, the food that's in the grocery stores, just all types of things that you've heard from eating out. That's why you want to be, if you're not getting it from food, you got to find a supplement from someplace else. So I always recommend on this channel or on this show to find something that's third party tested and go from there. Right? You already know from the shows we've done who we represent, who we take here, who we love here on this show. But if that's not your journey, again, research your supplement companies to make sure they're third party tested. Okay, that's what I would recommend. So anyway, so we're going to look at, now we're going to dive into how much research that has actually taken place or been done on behalf of creatine. Okay. And when I say this, I really truly mean this. Creatine is one of the most extensively studied supplements in human history. No matter what anybody looks at with creatine, the basis of it is it builds muscle, right? That's a thing because it hydrates the muscle. It draws more hydration into the muscle tissue to help make it look fuller, and muscle hypertrophy can be obtained by using creatine, staying consistent with it as well, right? But we're talking about, this has been done over and over again. There's been hundreds, maybe even more randomized controlled studies done on creatine. There's been decades of data, and honestly, the more you research creatine, the more you realize that they're still finding more stuff on the benefits of creatine to take a creatine, right? It's more studied, has been studied in men, it's been studied in women, older adults, and clinical populations, right? It has been studied, right? Those of you who do fitness, personal training, organizations like ISSA, it's International Society of Sports Nutrition. They have repeatedly stated that creatine monohydrate safe, effective, well tolerated. ACSM also, the NCSA, I believe it is. They're a lot of these certifying bodies. They also do a lot of extra research. Like I said, ACSM was one of them. I've quoted from some of their publications multiple times, or a couple times now, and so it's been a lot of research, a lot of long-term studies that show constantly no harmful effects on kidney function in healthy individuals. That is the one main caveat that you have to understand, is that if you're unhealthy, then there's been some issues with taking creatine. But if you're healthy, did I say that right? I hope I did. If you're unhealthy, it may cause some problems. But if you're healthy, it shouldn't cause any problems. So you might want, like I said again, talk to a medical representative, as soon as possible. Maybe get that checked out. But creatine, as long as it's been studied, it shows the same thing, right? Long-term studies show consistently that no health effects, no harmful health effects or on kidneys. Function is healthy. Health function is great in healthy individuals. Okay. So the fear behind that is actually outdated because they've proved it in multiple studies. You cannot believe it if you don't want to. That's up to you. But the research has been there. So you just go type it in PubMed, ACSM, anything, Google Scholar, I believe it is. Just type in creatine and just look up and see how much research has been done on it. Okay, not every supplement, not every product, not every drug can make that same claim as much as creatine has. But that is a great thing. Okay, so before we continue on with this, just kind of give you the rundown. We're gonna take a quick break. Take a break, hear from our sponsors, see what those guys over at Balance Life Supplements has to offer, who's talking about today's episode. But when we return, we'll get back to creatine and how an amazing supplement it is, in my opinion. All right, we'll be back.
When the body's fed right, it responds right back. No crash, no fade, just strength on track. Muscle Max Creatine, tried and true. Balance inside of you. Fuel that the science has proven. Create the inner power with creatine. Just steady growth, strong routines. Muscle Max Creatine with Balance Life Supplements at balancelifesubs.com.
All right, welcome back to A Balanced Life. This is your host, Dr. Chris Byles, here talking about creatine to bring you up on game. Maybe even did not sure, maybe you thought about taking it, but we're going to, dive into all of that in the rest of today's topic. Okay, but before you begin, you just heard a commercial from Balanced Life Supplements. They have a Muscle Max Creatine. Actually, I pretty like this bottle right here. I like the brother and sister on the back bottle looking all athletic. Anyway, creatine, I get guys, like I constantly tell you, right? It really doesn't matter. This is a great product, but you don't have to take my word for it. You can try other stuff, but just research and make sure that you're finding something that's third-party tested before you put it in your body. The one thing I like about all their products, there's all filled to the rim, so you're not getting air tax. Also, with the Muscle Max Creatine, it's very simple creatine, guys. All you need is 5 grams of creatine monohydrate, 1 scoop a day. You can take it there's a lot of people that will tell you how much you take, right? There's some of you that you've taken creatine in the past, there's usually called a loading phase. What I would recommend if you're taking any type of creatine, no matter who it is that you just take it daily. Maybe 1 scoop if you're under 175 pounds. If you're over 175 pounds, maybe take 2 scoops. It's not going to harm you. Stay hydrated, though. We talked about being hydrated before on one of the topics, guys. If you're going to include creatine into your daily routine, make sure you stay hydrated. Eat your fruits and vegetables, all that good stuff, guys. Because if you're not drinking enough water anywhere, stay hydrated anyway, right, from foods or your water intake or what have you, is that when you start adding something like this or whatever, and you're not drinking enough water, you're really going to be feeling dry, dehydrated, and yeah, it can get, if anything, I say that probably would be the biggest side effect. But anyway, make sure that it's third-party tested, okay? They're going to make sure it's clinically dosed, micronized for better mixing. This actually has that same situation. It does the same thing. It's backed by backed by transparency and quality testing, all right? If you want to support your recovery, I'm telling you, get you some creatine. You'd be glad you did. All right, back to the topic, okay? So let's look at this. Let's look at some science real quick, okay? All my people that's out there likes some science, right? You've heard it. Maybe you've looked at it. You've talked about it. You've heard somebody talk about creatine some way or another. But maybe you did not. Maybe you heard and did not hear that how creatine is actually may benefit women more than men, right? We always see the muscle men, the dudes in the gym, You know the guys. And they got the protein and the creatine and those type of things. But it's not just, again, we got to look past these stigmas, because it's not just for meatheads, right? It's not just for bodybuilders in the gym. It's for every single body. And women, you didn't benefit from creatine more than we can, right? Because there are so many reasons why. Number one, you on average, women consume less creatine than us through your diet anyway, like less meats, red meats, less fish, right? We're not as a whole taking omega-3 fatty acids, which will probably be one of our other topics soon coming up. But omega-3 fatty acids are very important. Sometimes we're not getting these things in our diet. Again, if you're not supplement, if you know that you're getting your 5 grams of creatine monohydrate from your red meats and your fish on a daily basis, you don't have to supplement, right? But if you know that you're probably not, then I would recommend supplementing. Okay. But anyway, ladies, you consume less dietary creatine than men do. You have lower baseline creatine stores anyway, right? Just because this is your anatomy, you're made up, but you have less creatine stores anyway. And the worst part about this, reason why it benefits you the most, is that women, you guys experience faster muscle loss with age, more so than men do. So it's not only is it beneficial for you to make sure you're getting some type of creatine in your diet, only reason why, because it's going to help you build muscle, help you recover, help you, get stronger, increase the bone density a little bit because the exercise is going to definitely do that, not just because of the creatine, but it's going to help you allow to do so many different things at the gym. It's a great product. Excuse me. But you guys experience all these different things because you're women. It's no knock to you. Nobody's better. Nobody's perfect. We all have our own duties or roles in this life, right? But it's just what it is. Just the way we're made. Unfortunately, that's what happens. So, but creatine will benefit you guys the most because of that. So I highly recommend you look at getting you really good creatine. Excuse me. Okay. So it supports. It has been shown creatine has been shown to preserve lean muscle mass in women or anybody, period. It enhances the strength with resistance training. As you're lifting, you'll notice, oh my goodness, I'm getting stronger, right? The creatine helps with bone health indirectly, right? Indirectly, like I just mentioned, and improving cognitive resilience and mental fatigue. Excuse me. So, ladies, this becomes especially important during premenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. All right. So the one thing I want all of you guys, honestly, all right, now it's about, you can put muscle on with creatine, but I want you to take this out of your mind that creatine it's not about getting bulky. It's nothing about getting bulky. Ladies, I've heard this so many times where it says, if I start working out, I'm going to look like a man. Stop it. You won't, right? You got to understand genetics. You got to understand all these different things. Now, if you're taking an extra supplement, you know what I'm saying? If you're injecting something into your body that causes you to look like a man, then you're going to look like a man. But if you do everything naturally, you work out, you just get stronger. More and more women, personal trainers, scientists are saying the exact same thing, especially as you age, right? Especially since we know now that you guys experience faster muscle loss with age. So as you age, you want to be doing things that's going to help lay down new bone and strengthen your muscle tissue, right? Help with your posture, especially not just older ladies or older people, period. You want to be able to have good balance, have good posture, because one of the biggest reasons that elderly people die is from slips, trips, and falls. And if they don't have, they're already in osteoporosis at that point, or, it's just, you really want to be careful. So that's why it's important. That's why you're seeing more and more people on social media in their 60s, 70s, 80s that's adopting strength training, powerlifting, those type of things, because it's just doing just that. It's helping you reverse certain things if you already have it. It's helping you prevent things if you're trying to prevent certain things like osteoporosis, osteopenia, those type of things. If you're trying to prolong that, strength training, all that stuff is going to be important, right? As we age, we want to still be independent. We still want to be strong. We want to still have longevity. I would hope, right? If you don't, then I apologize. But if we do, right, it's not going to come from no magic pill. It's not going to come from anything that you just take and pop and then all expect that, hey, I can do these things now, or I can just think it to happen and just, give yourself an aneurysm. You have to physically do it. Okay. Everybody's at the sound of my voice. If you get one thing from me, don't stop moving. Don't stop moving. Yes, go to sleep. Now, don't be funny. Okay. But don't stop moving. Keep going. Keep trying to get stronger. Keep doing it. Right. Don't stop. As long as the Creator has you here on this earth, do not stop moving, because the sooner you move, the sooner things starts to shut down. It only takes I think 2 weeks for you to be out of shape. And it might be less than that, depending on how old we are. Right? I think it's 2 weeks is the number. Like once you go out of town, 10 days, I think is pretty much, it's the same thing. But if you go out of town or have you stop working out for 2 weeks, you have to start all the way over. It's like starting all the way over. And again, who wants to do that? Because 2 weeks don't just be 2 weeks. 2 weeks be 6 years, right? It just starts with 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, 6 years later, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I got to this point. What's wrong with my pictures? Why do I look like that on the camera? What is going on, right? I can hardly catch my breath walking up the stairs. Why is this? It's just you forgot 2 weeks ago, 6 years ago, that you stopped working out. It just stopped. Some people come into the gym after eating, binging on so much food during the holidays and just spending in excess and just doing all types of crazy stuff because they're celebrating. They all come in and they all say the same thing. I just looked up, man, I got busy, and then all of a sudden, it's been this long later. It's been this late in the game, and I've gained all this weight, and I'm so unhealthy, right? So I really, if I can give you any piece of information today, is to make sure that you don't stop. Period. Okay? Until the Creator, the Most High of all, calls this home, don't stop. I just wouldn't. If you Bible readers out there, you read about Moses. He was climbing up and down the mountain over 80 years old. Okay? So just stop saying you can't. We're going to talk about, that's going to be another thing we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about mental, we're going to positive words and how words change you and make you complacent, what have you, whatever it is. Like the saying goes, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Right? You determine what you can or you cannot do. Right? Unfortunate, but that's what it is. Okay. So as we age, we're slipping into the aging factor now with creatine and how creatine can actually help that. But as we age, it doesn't just mean wrinkles, right? It means loss of muscle, loss of power, loss of balance, right? Creatine can actually help counteract that, right? And again, what did we talk about in the beginning? What creatine helps with? ATP is your energy availability, right? So it's going to help with supporting your training adaptations as you're moving to new programs, as you're working on new different things. Your body, your body's adapting to those new protocols. It's going to help with that. It's going to help training adaptations. It's going to help enhancing the neuromuscular function, right? Your brain and your limbs and everything, neuromuscular function, right? This is why creatine is now being studied as a healthy aging intervention, right? This is the type of stuff they're studying for, how important and what they think, how great creatine is. And again, don't take my word for it. I say try it, right? But again, if you are getting that much creatine from your beef and your fish, then you probably don't need it, right? But that's the beautiful thing about some supplements. It can help you get your numbers and not increase your calorie intake as well. Okay. But again, I would say get a good one that's third party tested. If you have not heard it, I'm gonna have that come on the screen with the fingers up. Third party tested. Jump across the screen, if only. But anyway. So now let's talk about how to take creatine. Okay. We've talked about the benefits of it. We've talked about who can take it, who can use it, right? Let's talk about how to take it. And I kind of touched on briefly on this a little bit ago. Let's just keep it simple. 5 grams per day. Okay, if you want to start a little small, maybe do 3 grams per day. But 5 grams per day is what you need, right? Again, many creatines for so many years, we were told that we had to have a loading phase. None necessary on that, right? None is necessary on the loading phase. You don't have to do that. Just what I would recommend is, number one, take it consistently. Number two, if you're over 175 pounds, take 2 scoops. If you're under 175 pounds, take 1 scoop. That's what I would recommend. If you're, even if you're going to start off small, right? If you're going to start off with 3 grams, again, maybe just start in that beginning and then move your way up. But everybody else, that's what I would say. If you're over 175 pounds, 170 pounds, do 2 scoops a day. If you're under that, do 1 scoop. But just keep taking this consistently. Don't worry about timing. Timing doesn't matter. There are certain timing things with certain foods, such as what they call protein synthesis, carb loading, those type of things. But for creatine, just take it, right? It doesn't matter. Take it when you remember, if it's post-workout with a meal and a protein shake. Protein shake, if you're taking those on a regular basis, might be just quick, easy. Just throw that right in there. With your coffee, before workout, after the workout, just as long as you get it, right? I like doing it before my workout because it makes my workouts feel a little bit more intense, okay? Just remember, it's all about hydration because creatine is going to pull water into your muscle cells, right? And that's a good thing. But again, you got to stay normally hydrated as well, okay? If you want that big, no, sorry. if you want that, the big bulky muscles, however it's perceived, again, everybody's going to be different. Men, of course, going to carry more muscle than women are in that respect. But if you want to have some muscle and keep your muscle, stay stronger, those type of things, creatine is where it's at. Okay? So remember these 3 things that we've heard. We heard and we know that are going to be false, right? So remember, creatine does not damage the kidneys, right? It does not damage the kidneys, especially if you're a healthy individual. Creatine does not cause dehydration, right? It actually pulls fluid into your muscle cells. Creatine is just for men. Wrong. That's also wrong. Creatine is not just for men. These are myths, okay? If I could say one thing that I want you to take away from this today, maybe this is now number 5. I think I've said it already. But anyway, if you take anything away, creatine honestly is one of the most safest, effective, most misunderstood, most researched supplement available. For women, aging adults, creatine supports strength, muscle preservation, cognitive health, long-term independence, right? Long-term independence. Okay? So I hope that helped you. And I hope that you understand that when you come listen to my show, we're not going to chase any trends in here. We're just going to talk about evidence and follow the science behind your health and wellness, right? And one of the things is that work must be done. Work must be done if you want to receive the reward of good health. Okay? Health is not going to come overnight. It's not going to come to just anybody who just wishes it and doesn't do nothing or treats their body in the opposite of what they want, if that makes sense. Okay? If you treat your body in that way, then it's going to respond in the way that you treat it. Right? There's a relationship between you and your body, and health should be the relationship that we all strive for. But unfortunately, many of us have toxic relationships with our health. All right? You're supposed to stop that. Leave all that toxic relationship stuff alone, even when it comes to your health. All right, guys, with that being said, if this episode has changed your idea of how you think about creatine, share this with somebody who still thinks like it's still a gym supplement, right? So somebody thinks that way. Please share this with them. Let them get this. But please subscribe, leave a review. Remember that I have a podcast. It's called a Balanced Life Podcast. It's actually on the screen. I don't know if you can see it right here. Balanced Life Podcast. I have it on YouTube. Go over there if you want to see my face on YouTube. Show me some love. Subscribe. It's called a Balanced Life Podcast, just like the show, but it's called A with the A, right? The letter A. Balanced, BALANCED Life Podcast, and I'll pop up on the screen right here, so you get that as well. But guys, until next time, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to leave a review, and follow A Balanced Life for more evidence-based health conversations every Friday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time on everywhere that streaming happens. But you can check us out on Spotify if you have Spotify. All right. With that being said, I'm Dr. Chris Byles, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to A Balanced Life with your host, Dr. Chris Byles.
Take care of your body, your mind, and your spirit.
Keep moving forward. See you next time.